when there's a conflict, you also have to remember that the person who did the harm has a side. The person who impacted has a side. And then you have to create space to kind of figure out how do we move past it.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford, and as always, got the big homie KB, Mr. Kevin Brigance. Talk to him, bro. I don't know what just happened, but his whole mic glitched out.
I'm like, were you even making any noise?
It's the AirPods.
Oh.
No, not today. Not today, but
Did nobody hear you, Kev?
man, that broke my heart.
Yeah.
We're not starting over.
Oh man, he missed it.
Yeah. I'm gonna just let y'all know right now. Like, so last episode, I had the beginning of COVID. In this episode, I'm on like the tail end of COVID. So praise God, first of all, 1 week. But this is gonna be one of them episodes. So if my voice sound more weirder than it usually do, then that's what it is. And you know, say y'all can fight me, or y'all can send us some Patreons or something like that. We don't got one, but y'all can send it, whatever. Man, we got Symphony. Melanated Mama, whatever you want to be called, has been on us to come on this show for a minute because her husband, Melanated Daddy Josh, Mr. Long-Winded, has been on
Right.
What's he been on? Three times? 4 times?
I think it's three times, yeah.
Four times. Well, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so happy I finally get my seat in the panel.
All that. Yeah, Kev, we still can't hear you.
Y'all better get y'all brother
serious?
back here.
No, there you go. Okay, yeah, I can hear a little bit. But yeah, no. Welcome to the show. So glad you're here. Now Kev got feedback. I don't know what's going on. We're going to figure it out. Symphony, we're going to figure this out. Me and you, we're going to be on here. But now you done muted yourself. Oh, I see Josh coming in here. Man, God. But
yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Josh.
That's what I do.
This ain't about you this time.
It's not about you.
Always
You
about
supposed to did you just take her phone? Are you leaving?
Yeah, I left her there. I'll talk about me. What's up, my brother?
This is not your show.
It's all about me. This is my show.
First of all, it's our show.
You just host it. It's my show.
He can't never just share. Just can't share. I took my AirPods out because he's talking too much junk, and I need y'all to hear that. So y'all don't be thinking that I'm going crazy.
Yeah. You be all right. Yo, I got so many questions though. But I got so many places I want to start this off. But again, I'm really glad to have you on this show because we have so many dads on here, which is Dads on Purpose, but I feel like there is a gap missing. Not necessarily, no shade, whatever, not necessarily to have more women on, but to have us to help us with the ladies in our life. You feel me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's really where I want to go with this one because I know you have so many interests. And I mean, pause. Tell the people who you are. Like, introduce yourself. How you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you for that. I am Symphony, also known as Melanated Mama, and I am a motherhood content creator. I'm gonna give you my official mission statement because I'm trying to get better at this elevator speech. But my purpose is to inspire and build a community of melanated mamas by using art and storytelling to navigate conscious parenting. So, like, that is the gist of how I share things to the web.
Yeah. Did you say art?
Yes.
What kind of art?
I am interdisciplinary. So I do a little bit of printmaking, painting.
Like, I don't know what that means. Photography,
filmmaking, all of the things. I'm a maker.
Now, but what's video photographing? God, what are you taking pictures of?
A lot of my work centers around literally storytelling and motherhood. And so
what that look like? Tell me what that look like, because I don't. I mean, you don't have to physically show me, but that's fine.
I'm gonna show y'all. Y'all got me getting out the screen and stuff.
I mean, you realize this is a YouTube show too.
You know, that's okay.
You know what?
But I think it's better if you see what I'm talking about versus me trying to explain.
This is why you can't give black folks nice things.
But that's
Well,
how
this
we
is
do,
one
man.
example.
I can't. Your head's in the way. Oh.
Nice.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
I got more.
And that's print or is that paint?
This is all
Okay.
acrylic on wood.
Oh.
Acrylic on wood.
Acrylic on wood.
Nice.
Okay.
So are you doing like paint with the twist type classes?
That's for fake artists.
Oh,
See,
Us real artists would never.
why? What's wrong? First of all, what's wrong with that's like saying real golfers don't go to Top Golf.
They don't, not for real.
They do. It's for entertainment. It's for fun.
That's what it's for. That's what I'm saying. Like I go there and it's not fun for me because I'm literally an artist. So like those little canvas.
Well, you need to check your stuff. You need to learn how to unwind with some wine. But look, she'd have got me upset. I'm a real artist.
You know what?
I paint real things.
Let me take that back. It's a fun outlet, but it doesn't bring me joy.
Okay. That's acceptable. Now, back to the issue at hand. No. Perfection is perfection. So anyways. What I did want to know, here's where I want to start though. I really do want to start with how as men, as husbands, as spouses, can we be more supportive? And so that's why I wanted to start with you and what you're doing, because I know Josh is a huge supporter of everything that you're doing. And so I'm like, how as men can we be more supportive of the women in our lives?
That's a really good question. And I think at least for my journey and like my marriage, for us, it's just about creating safe spaces for us to be vulnerable. Like that is a major piece, because I think oftentimes the disagreements, the misunderstandings, the conflict really stems from one of the people in the situation not making a safe space. And a lot of times that's for two things. One, we don't know how to handle conflict in a way that's healthy, or we've never seen conflict handled in a way that's healthy, or I don't have the vocabulary, the emotional vocabulary to express myself. And so then I'm yelling at you or whatever about something when really that's not even what I'm upset about. And it's because I don't have the language to unpack that. And so I think that when partners can create a safe space to say, okay, like let's unpack it together, like let's really get to the root of this instead of reacting. Yeah. And that's hard, right? Because if your wife is just nitpicking, like, you ain't washed the dishes, you ain't did it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to create a space for you to tell me what's really bothering you, because this ain't it. And
Well, because that's what I was about to ask. I was like, well, even if you create that space, like you just got this vacant lot space just sitting here and ain't nobody visiting it. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't put signs up. You didn't put, hey, free parking. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, hey, come visit this safe space. But ain't nobody visiting it. So, you know what I mean?
People don't visit. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because I like the healthy conflict. And I'm doing some, y'all know I'm all into leadership. And we're studying Lencioni leadership. And what he's talking about is healthy conflict. There needs to be trust. And then there needs to be conflict. There needs to be some tension. Well, a lot of times, number one, although we love each other, do we trust each other with our conflict, right? We trust each other not to be hurt in the midst of that conflict. So I think a lot of it is with that healthy space. Is it really a space where I feel comfortable? And then number two, am I willing to deal with the conflict and being okay with having healthy conflict? And I think, and you can help me with this, Symphony. Like when we talk about healthy conflict, that's both of being able to share both of our sides, no matter how we feel about what side we're on, but so that we can have that of disagreement. And it's going to be disagreement, but the problem is that we take the disagreement to anger. And then we're in anger when all we were doing was in a conflict, which is okay. And even when I think about this new training that I'm getting with leadership, I never looked at conflict to be healthy. It's always been, if I have conflict, I run away from conflict because I don't want to get upset, be mad. And I think number one, a healthy space, and then number two, just really that conflict. Like conflict is good. We should be having conflict. If we're not having conflict, then
we're not a community for real.
Yeah. So talk a little bit more about the conflict. How do you and Josh really navigate the whole conflict deal? Because I think that we look at conflict like bad thing, and we need to start looking at conflict good, healthy thing to have. And then how do we say, okay, you know what, agreeing to disagree and let's move on?
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with who you were talking about in terms of the reading that you've been doing, but a lot of my work with like restorative practices and like just understanding conflict comes from Bell Hooks. And so she has an article that she wrote called Beloved Community. And so really it's just saying that like, in order for me to be in community with you, I have to one, recognize that you are redeemable, right? So even if you make mistakes, you are redeemable. And so that is the foundation, right? And especially in a marriage, right? I have to know that my partner, one, is not trying to like maliciously do anything to hurt me, but that they can come back from that. And that's huge, right? And so
yeah.
You have to be able to understand that your partner is redeemable. And then from there, you navigate conflict in a way, then there are strategies, right? I statements, whole body listening and all of those things that support you being able to navigate conflict. And so that's how we handle our marriage. Like I know he's talked a lot about with y'all with like naked conversations. That's literally a restorative circle where you always laugh.
Listen, I'm that dude. Like, I'm that dude. Like you say naked conversations, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna be 75 and still laughing at that. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. But keep going. Sorry.
That's hilarious. But no, like we create that space and it's whole body listening. So if like he's bringing the conflict to me, it's not my time to respond. It's my time to listen. And then when he's done talking, then I can respond to that. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times when you in conflict, historically, like you yelling, you yelling, ain't nobody listening to each other. And so it's a skill to be able to have to sit and receive information about you that doesn't feel good. And that's hard and that takes practice. And so like, are we perfect? Absolutely not. But then we've also had to have really good conversations about like, how do we handle conflict? Like what does that even, what are the rules of engagement when we in conflict?
What are the rules of engagement of conflict? Yo, I'm gonna be real. This sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
But you care about the person you with, right? And so
no, no, absolutely. I'm just think, like that was me digesting it out loud, but already understanding that, like, yo, like, so like marriage is work, like life is work, like relationships are work. But I think I got caught on a TikTok loop for like, what I'm saying? You know how it happens. You start and then you next thing you know, 3 hours later, and you just like, how did I get on, the Mormon TikTok? But anyways, you go down the rabbit hole and you just end up wherever you end up. But there was one on there, and it was these, I don't want to say kids because it makes me sound like an old person. It was like in their 20s, you know what I'm saying? And they were like, oh, we low key kind of toxic. And they were just like insulting each other. But then they would be like, my love, babe, wife at the end. And I'm like, I don't know if that is like the culture now or if they were just like looking for views. But like, I see that more often than not when people are celebrating having toxic relationships. And instead of doing the work to be in something that is beneficial and not just for your emotional state, but for your healthy state, because toxic relationships, bro, that will kill you on the inside too.
But I think that's tough because I think revert back, like that's all they know is toxic relationship. All they know is my parents not being together. All I know is my mama being beat, or all they know is,
bruh, you know what? Like I hear you, but at some point, what's happened to you is no longer an excuse.
No. It's exposure, right? It's
no. At some point, it is you can no longer say,
but that's what I'm saying.
This is what happened to me. And at some point, you gotta say, like, yo, like I'm making a decision.
But that's like what I'm saying, though, Josh. All I'm saying though is exposure. If I grow up in a toxic environment, and if I grow up learning that hitting is love, when I get older and I am person I'm for somebody to show that they love me is hitting me. Until somebody comes to me and exposes me to something different and shows me something different, that person assume like this is love because that's how I got love elsewhere.
I don't believe that. If you sitting there, if you getting hit,
I think it's twofold,
you
bro.
sit there, you be like, I don't want to get hit. Well, what you need to do? You need to get out of there.
But that's not always the case. Come on, melanated.
I know that's not the case, but all I'm saying is that at some point in your life, you got to take responsibilities for what you're doing. You can't blame it on somebody else or your environment.
But I wish I could agree with you on that, bro. But I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'm gonna give it to melanated mama. Let you talk on it.
I mean, I see both sides of it, right? And I think, Kev, we work in schools, we work with young people, and we see the cycle. And I think there is a little bit of exposure. Oh, are you? Okay, so I didn't know that. And yes, I agree that at some point you got to be like, okay, I want better, and I want this to not be my circumstance. But if I don't know what better looks like, then it becomes like, well, I don't hit her in the face, but my mom, my dad used to hit her in the face. I'm better than him because,
I know literal homeless people with cell phones. So the fact that we have a cell phone and you can look and online and see what a good relationship, like we are so connected. So like for someone to tell me that, like, yes, I get it. Like for you to have that day-to-day exposure is one thing. Like, people be like, oh, saying they get exposed to stuff on TV. Well, TV is not real to them, but actually that's what that is, because that's what they build their cultures or societies based around what they see on TV. So how are you telling me that what they see on TV is not real? So now if they're exposing themselves and watching something else, you ain't got. I'm picking on our community right now.
But even when you
I can't even say BET because BET don't even play what they used to play no more.
That's what I'm about to say, bro. But even when you think about our community, we haven't, since the Huxtable, since the 90s, we haven't had a good view of a healthy relationship of a
Blackish.
Okay, that's one out of 150.
You said we ain't had one since the Huxtable.
But we hadn't had a culture of entertainment that shows like, and now, because I'm gonna be real, I think about that, like, what is Kendall exposed to? When we were growing up, we had a variety of shows that we could pull from in the society. I think this is good because I think in certain pockets, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I go to the east side and I see the same thing happen over and over again because of lack of exposure, not because of anything. I think if they're exposed a little bit different and they get somebody in there that loves them and support them, I see things change in those people who they're able to touch. And then when I go into other communities that are a little bit more affluent, I see, and with a little bit more exposure, I see differences in those different pockets. And that's why they just exposure and what they're exposed to and what they have can really bring change if they get the exposure to be changed. And I think sometimes it's difficult and it's hard, but even think about conflict, right? If I'm in one part of the city, these cats handle conflict totally different. If I'm in another part of the city, handling conflict a certain way, but that's just because how that pocket is handling conflict and not wanting to want anything better. And so I think that the exposure and trying to find out how to deal with conflict. I hated conflict. Look, Symphony, I hate conflict because of the way that I was exposed to conflict in my household. So because of the way because of the way my parents handle conflict, which is, I mean, they're still together, they love each other. It just wasn't a healthy way for me to want to conflict. And so because of that experience, I wanted to do something back. I want to be better and different. I tell you today, I still fail. And I fail because of the scene and the way that I've seen conflict in the past. Does it make sense? And I'm trying to work on it. Believe me, I'm trying to work on it. But
like Jerry said, it's a lot of work. And I think it's a lot of work because you got to deal with yourself. And like, you got to deal with all of the things that flow through you in the midst of conflict. Some people shut down. Some people, they got that fight or flight and they go that way. And so like, in order for you to be in a healthy relationship where the conflict is healthy, I have to understand how I show up in conflict. Right. And so my experiences with Josh was that I've never really had any traumatic experiences. I don't know where it came from, but I don't like when men yell at me. Well, I do know my daddy, but I don't like when men yell. So when you raise your voice, that's a problem for me. I'm not hearing what you're saying. And you could be dead right, but if you're yelling, your point is missed, right? And so we had to have a couple falling outs where we had to then establish our rules of engagement. Listen, you can't yell at me. For him, it's hand movements. If I'm doing all of this, he like, do I need to swat? Like, what's happening? And so like, I have to be cognizant of like how my body is moving when we're in conflict. So most times, because I talk with my hands, I'm sitting on my hands sometimes because I know that like he's not going to receive what I'm saying if I'm passionate with my hands when we talking. And so like once we were able to kind of like recognize that this is what it is, when those symptoms like, boil up, it's like, okay, we can't have this conversation. We're going to come back tomorrow. And that's okay, right? Because we married. Like, I'm gonna see you tomorrow. Like, we probably know going to. But being able to say, like, this is not the space. This is not going to end healthy. So, like, we need to just pause on that. And that's a struggle for me because I'm like, nope, we finna talk about it right now. And Josh is like, I ain't ready. Like, if you want this to be healthy, I need a moment. And it'd be hard to hear that, but like, I have to go back to our rules of engagement because even in conflict, I have to remember we on the same team. And oftentimes you forget that when you beefing, it's just like fight or flight. Like, man, this person hurt me. I'm about to get my lick back. Not realizing that this is your whole wife. This is your whole husband. This is your whole partner. We on the same team. So
I love the fact that you said that we really need to understand how we deal with conflict and how we handle conflict. I think oftentimes we always focus on the other person before we focus on ourselves. So, and I think that's even important because it's like, how do you know your levels of angry, right? Like, are you mad? Are you upset? Are you angry? Are you furious? And I think that's number one, like really starting to understand your own self when it comes to conflict. Go ahead.
I'm gonna pause you there because what I've learned just with my work with young people is that typically anger is the secondary emotion. You were embarrassed first. You were frustrated first. You were, some other emotion, and what came out was anger, right? If I'm on the recess playground and I got hit in the head with a football and all my homeboys laughing at me, I'm embarrassed first.
Yeah.
Because you laughing, now I'm mad, and I'm gonna go off and knock one of the heads off of the boys on the playground. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
How many kids have the language to say I was jealous and that's why I did this, or I was embarrassed because, this happened. And even in a relationship, there's a level of vulnerability that needs to be created in a safe space to say, you know what, husband, like I'm low key jealous of you right now. That's a human emotion. It's real. And it happens. I'm resentful because like you can do this and I can't right now. Or you got this opportunity and I've been busting my butt and the opportunities haven't come my way. We on the same team, but like how often do we create a space to say that to our partners?
I love
you
that.
You sound like my wife. She be getting mad because I take naps. I told her she picked the wrong job. So you need to pick a job that allows you to take naps.
I be telling Josh too, like, I don't think it's fair that you get to sleep in every weekend and I'm up with the kids. And he's like, well, I just can't help you, an early bird. And I'm just like, but that's a real conversation though.
Yeah. And in that I hear emotional intelligence, right? So not only am I understanding who I am into the conflict, but I'm understanding my own emotions and my own feelings and having a safe place. Can you explain to us the establishing rules of engagement? Because I think because you're taking two roles, right? You're taking the way that Josh was handling in conflict, and then you're taking the way that you see conflict, and then you're like, okay, at some point, like, okay, the way that we're handling this is not working. Like, how do you get to a point where you're like, okay, we need to establish rules and an engagement as we handle conflict, and what does that look like?
I'm gonna be honest with you. For us, it happened when we had a huge argument, and it was one of them, get your shit and you can step. Like, I'm not
call Tyrone.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was one of them where it was like, it got to the point where it got really ugly. And then coming back from that, it was like, we can't ever get to that place again. And so we need to figure out how we can handle conflict, just normal, small stuff, or when it's big stuff. And for us, sometimes it's like when it gets really big, we take it to nature. Like, okay, we can't sit in this house because we're gonna act a fool in this house. Ain't nobody to check us, ain't nobody to like be looking around. So we're gonna walk in the park. You ain't gonna act a fool in nobody's park. You ain't
You
gonna
ain't
act
met me.
you know? And so when we take a walk, we can kind of like get our bodies moving, get our heart rates up, and really kind of focus on the objective, like teacher language. At the end of this argument, what's the objective? I want a better schedule for the nighttime routine. Like that's at the end of the day, I don't want to be the one who's doing it 5 days out the week and then you only get 2. So then we figure out like how to get there together.
I like that. I like understand what conflict is and then focus on the conflict, not the emotion, not the anger, not the get away if you need to get away. Man, that's dope, man. I got a question. What do you suggest to someone who's not good with conflict? Because you know, some people love conflict, right? Some people just can't wait. But what about people who like they know that the situation is right? They know they love the person, but they just don't handle conflict. How do I come back and say, okay, listen, I want to handle this differently? Give me kind of, you know, because I too, you know, I'm the same way. Like I need to be able to down with my wife, Delina, and say, you know what, conflict is healthy for us. I just don't get when you do X, Y, Z.
So I take a lot of like my practice from the practice of restorative practices. So I don't know if you all are familiar with that. Maybe working in schools. So it started in the criminal justice system where you would have like the offender and the victim kind of in a space to really talk about it from each lens, right? Like, okay, this is why I did it. And then this is how it impacted me. And there's a lot of work that happened about that on the West Coast. But in terms of how I translate that into schools and like my relationship is, when there's a conflict, you also have to remember that the person who did the harm has a side. The person who impacted has a side. And then you have to create space to kind of figure out how do we move past it. And so in that, at least with restorative practices, it's whole body listening. Like while you are talking, I don't get to talk. I'm literally listening. And I don't get, and so for us, we do that. So when we're in conflict, it's if he's talking and I can't talk because really I'm not even listening to what he's saying. I'm just waiting for opportunity to interject what I want to say. Yep. So I have to really be conscious about, okay, I need to just listen, whole body listen so that I can, you know, really kind of hear his side about it. So that's one strategy. But then also remembering that at the end, we have to work together for a goal. Like for a resolve. Yeah. If it's just conflict to be conflict, you messy, and that ain't healthy. You know what I'm saying? If you're not interested in a resolution, then I'm not playing that game with you. Like that that's
what is whole body listening? Because you keep saying that, and I don't know what that means.
So when you're doing restorative circles in the classroom, right? You get all your kids in a circle, and only really one person can talk at a time. So you have like a talking piece. When I'm holding this piece, everyone else has to listen. Typically in school settings, we do whole body listening where I don't get to shake my head if I agree with you. I don't get to, you know, show any signs of like what my opinion is on what you're speaking. And you get why it's important in a school setting. Yeah. We handling the conflict and I'm like, yep, you know, like, no. And so even in my relationship, I practice whole body listening because I can be in my head like, that is not how it happened. Like, no, you did not.
Talking with your hands.
And so when you in that space, you're not present for what's being brought to the room. And so I practice whole body listening because I'm shutting down every part of my body so that I can really focus on what you're saying and I can receive that so that I can then, you know, respond if I need to, or sometimes sit in that. Like sometimes he says things and I'm just like,
you can't shake your head though.
When it's my turn to talk, I'm like, you right. Like, I'm sorry. My bad. That wasn't my intention. But you know, I apologize for the impact. You know what I'm saying? Cause like that's what it is. So whole body listening is just being really intentful about listening to the person that's speaking, giving them the whole floor.
That's good.
I like that. I think one of my nuggets I take away from this today is like, I think sometimes what throws me off is the conflict the conflict for us is brought up in unopportune time. What do I mean? I'm not even thinking about it. And so when you come at me, I want to defend myself, or it's not like, hey Kevin, it's not like, hey Kevin, we need to talk, or hey, let's set some time to really talk about this. And I think that's what I love that I heard here is that, number one, we got to make time for it. Like you can't just be mad and angry and shooting at the fly, because we never know what that person mind frame is. And I think that a lot of my conflict items on my end probably can be more resolved if I really take time just to solve conflict, not just like really just say, hey, hey, you have time, we're gonna take 45 minutes. Let's just talk about what this thing that you were upset about and why you were upset at, so that we can both hear our sides of it. I think that's very important, because I think sometimes we're busy in life. And I noticed this in my household, when we're busy, it's on fly. It's not by like, hey, intentional, I guess is the word I'm trying to use. It's not intentional. And so what I think I want to try to start implementing is at least some intentional time, even if there's no conflict, but just some intentional time to say, hey, this is just space and time for us to communicate, and not just be busy communicating, but actually spending time to be one-on-one communicating. So thank you so much for that.
Good.
That's important. And like, even with my kids, how many times do you pick up your kids from school and you go, how was your day? And they go, good. And then you're looking around like, you don't got nothing else to say. And it's like, we asking the wrong questions. It's literally, when I'm in the car with my kids, it's tell me one or two things that made you happy today. And they can haul off 84 things about what made them happy. And then I'm like, okay, so then what made you sad today? And they'll say, oh, this made me sad. That gives me a little bit more to kind of get into conversation. And it's the same thing, with your partners. At the end of every day, we try to just check in and say, okay, what was one good thing about your day today? What was one thing that annoyed you? And so then you kind of start to connect, and then it doesn't, that annoying coworker that been getting on your nerves, and then you come home thinking about that coworker while you washing dishes, and then you're annoyed because you're washing dishes, and it's really, you're not annoyed about that. It's just a coworker. You know how that spirals, right? You sit there, wash these dishes again, and you ain't mad about that. You knew they was there this morning, but you're really mad about work because you're trying to process how to deal with this coworker. Use your partner. Create space to say, what's something that's been pissing you off at work? They can help you.
That's good. That's really good.
That's why I only got 5 coworkers.
I only got about 10, and they,
Look, I got 5 coworkers and 6 friends. I'm good. That's about maybe 5. I don't know.
Right. But that's good. That's good. You got to make time for those conversations and definitely get it all out on the table.
But all of that translates into my parenting too, right? So the same language that I'm using to help my marriage, I'm using that same language with my kids, so that they can have the emotional vocabulary to communicate when they're adults. And so, my daughter will come to me and be like, Mom, I'm disappointed that you told us we were going to get dessert, and we haven't gotten dessert for the past 2 weeks. And I'm like, you right. My bad, sis. Let's fix that.
I love how you set up a culture now in your whole house. So now your kids have the tools to be able to express how they're feeling, when they're feeling, in the proper times to do that. And I think that, I'm in this whole thing about culture right now, but just setting the culture in the house, I think, so you're saying not even if we work on it as adults, if we get this right as parents, we'll also have a great, what's the model for our kids to follow. What do you guys ever have a session where your kids are like, hey man, we don't like what y'all did, we need to talk?
Absolutely. So I'll never forget that same blow up when I was like, get your shit, like that whole argument. It happened in front of the kids, right? And so the kids were like, we have to repair that harm, right? Because they saw conflict in the way that goes against everything we try to teach them. And so I had to go back and say, mommy and daddy, we're still trying to figure out how to deal with our anger monster. We're still trying to come up with the language. And sometimes we make mistakes, right? We had to apologize to them because that went against our family norms. We don't handle our anger that way in our family. And so from there, there could be some passionate conversations that happen, and then the kids are like, "Ooh, mommy, you said we not doing that," and they check us like, okay, obviously we going against our norms. Let's pull back. Let's recenter because we're not modeling that for the kids. And we give them reins to call us out on that all the time.
I'm laughing because my 3-year-old does that all the time. She'll be like, Daddy, she's like, we don't say that. She's like, we don't do that. Or like you said, like you told the kids that you was going, get them dessert and whatever. They was upset. Today, I was doing something and she came in the living room. She was just like, let's go build a snowman, which there ain't no snow. So it was make believe. And I was like, all right, I'm going to be in there after I finish doing this. Well, I had finished doing something and I kept doing something else. And I came in here and I was like, baby girl, why you not ready? She was just like, I was waiting for you. You said we were going to build a snowman. I was like, my bad, dog. So we built some snowmen and I don't know. It was make believe. So whatever, I'm saying it took 30 seconds. It's fine. But anyways, I like the fact because I love the fact that it's different, but that it's like the same, like still creating that space and allowing them to, I don't know if vulnerable is the right word or whatever, but have some say, some input. Because kids are humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can remember being a kid and being upset at a director from my mom or my grandma, and I would just stomp off into my room, like, go to your room. And I was just left to kind of figure out whatever emotion I was dealing with, like on my own. And so in my house, when my kids pull that, I'm like, you can stomp, scream. I don't care how you get upstairs, but we're going to have a conversation about how to deal with your anger in a way that's healthy.
I like that.
That ain't how we do it. So do you need a stress ball? Do you need to go do some jumping jacks? Do you need to go draw? But we're not doing that. I would rather you tell me, Mommy, I'm mad that you told me I got to clean my room right now than for you to just stomp up. Use your words. You're going to get in trouble for not using your words more than you get in trouble for stomping up the stairs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's practice. Yeah. And I'm triggered by it because I'd be like, oh, I would have got my head knocked off. So I had to check my triggers, but
So you say to that, because I know there at one point practice was, when it comes to conflict, whatever you do, don't argue in front of your babies, don't argue in front of your kids, handle that stuff behind closed doors. Like, what is your take on that?
You do your kids such a disservice when you do that because actions speak louder than words. And so if I don't ever see my parents handle conflict, I'm either going to grow up and believe that it's not a thing. And so I'm going to take more than I probably should, or I'm going to handle it in another unhealthy way. And so we definitely have conversations and about conflict in front of the kids where it's just like, I disagree with you. And Josh would be like, well, I disagree with you. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to come up to a middle ground. Like, what we about to do? Can she watch TV or not? You know what I'm saying? And so then it's like, well, you know what? We're gonna bring the kid into the conversation. Here's what you did wrong. This is the expectation you did not meet. You need to have a consequence. Me and Daddy disagree on the consequence. So what do you think your consequence should be? And every time we started doing that, they consequences be worse than what we was thinking. So I'm like, all right, sis, you don't want electronics for 3 days? I was just thinking for tonight, but all right, cool. And me and Josh high five, and we did that. Like,
I like.
That's good.
Guys. I love how you guys are giving your kids a voice, and I think that's one of the things that I really try to focus on as a parent, as a father, is giving them a voice. How do you healthily, that's not even a word, healthily
it works.
But how do you give your kids as a Black mom? Because see, I think one of the things that I think about when I hear that is my mama calling me talking about, boy, Kendra calling me, she got options and choices. She ain't got no choices.
Man, I just posted something about this today on my IG. Because what's his name? Mr. Chaz, Mr. Chavez, whatever. He did
he just posted a video about that, about this.
Golly, what's it called? What's the thing called on Instagram? A reel? Golly. He just did a reel talking about that. Talking about when Black people, when they figure out that Black people are doing positive parenting, they like, that's some white stuff. And I'm like, And then he was just like breaking it down, like how it goes back to slavery and how we used to be in a survival state and how we're trying to break those generational curses and whoop, whoop, whoop. But I was just like, that makes a lot of sense. But anytime we do anything against our typical culture, it's always construed as whites. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like this is just how I talk. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the way I don't. Anyways, that's me. That was the end of my point. I didn't have nowhere to go.
For me, I let my kids be a testament to my parenting style, where I don't have to say nothing. Because what ends up happening is they'll see that my daughter's outspoken. She has an amazing vocabulary. She's confident. She, is a leader in her own right. And so they look like, man, how did you get her to like be like that? And I'm like, because I don't control her. Like, I'm here to guide her. And, she is her own person. She's not my mini me. She's Marley, you know what I mean? Or Kingston or whatever. And so I try to help them understand that, like, here's an analogy. When you think about like a 1-year-old, right? They're learning how to walk. Everything around them is new. They're curious. And no matter what you do, you cannot control this 1-year-old. You can't control when they cry. You can't stop them from crying. What do? You guide them. You put things in their path to support and, try to help them maneuver the way you would like for them to keep them safe, right? I don't want you to go down the stairs. I'm going to put up a gate. I don't want you to go into these cabinets. I'm going to put a lock on it. I want you to stop crying. I'm going to give you a cracker, a toy, whatever. So we don't keep that same energy as our kids start to get older. The assumption begins that they know better. And it's like, no, they're trying to do the best that they can do with their life. They're 7. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the vocabulary, the experience to navigate situations that, we would as adults. And so I try to bring that analogy is that we're not supposed to stop guiding them. That same energy that you give to that 1-year-old is the same energy your 7-year-old needs, your 10-year-old needs, your 18-year-old needs, because they don't have it figured out. And they're only doing the best that they can with the tools that they have. So when you talk about access, we pull away opportunities because they know better. They supposed to, they should have been there, and it's like,
That's good.
That's real good.
That's real good. Kev, we gotta get out of here, man.
No.
I don't know what you said because your mic cut out.
Man, I gotta bring my other mic back.
What happened to it?
I'm on the different device today.
Oh, see, listen, you're messing up a good thing. When you got something that's good that's going, but you think you got better.
Trying to be
I wish I had a witness. Oh, somebody. So where's the offer and play it real quick so we can go ahead and pass this thing.
Listen, before we get out of here, though, what I really want, because I think this is good. I think
no, it really is. That was me saying like, yeah, we got to get out of here soon.
Yeah,
I need to go get some more medicine because this is not working.
Because we hit this topic often sometimes, and I really want Symphony is like, what is like some really good steps? Like maybe somebody's in conflict in their home and they don't know how to navigate through conflict, or like, and they recognize like this is unhealthy what we're going through, and maybe the other person doesn't have the education or the know-how. Like, for somebody today who's like listening to this and they're starting to because I'm telling y'all, man, like seriously, this is good for me because I'm things to pop up in my brain to say, okay, Kevin, you need to do this better. You need to do this better. Like for somebody who's listening to this podcast, who gets to hear your voice and all the practices that you've done to get a healthy established in your home, what are some steps that they can take to establish healthy conflict environment for them? So they know that they need some change. What is the next for them from this podcast?
I think the first step is first being able to have a conversation around conflict, right? And destigmatize the word. That's number one. I think from there, you need to build your own inner capacity. So if it's building your own vocabulary of your emotional, like where you are emotionally, I think that's important to do some self work and then understand your partner and the self work that they had to do and then create the safe space. I don't think you can jump right from like, oh, it's a conflict. We're gonna go create a safe space. You got to do some internal work first. You got to recognize, where you are and how you deal with all your range of emotions, not just, anger. What do I do when I'm happy? What do I do when I'm sad? What do I do when I'm bored? Like you got to be able to figure that out and then share that with your partner. Let your partner share that with you. And then say like, here's what I need to feel supported when I'm sad, when I'm angry, when I'm happy. You know what I mean? And then you can start to build that safe space. People always say, this is a safe space. Safe spaces aren't safe because you say they safe.
Yeah. You gotta build that.
I can't laugh. I'm gonna start coughing. Where's the mute button?
But you're right about it. You're right about you're creating space. You're creating a safe space just off of a whim, and you're not really getting to the foundation of making that safe space. So that's good. Because I think what happens is you give them a safe space just for somebody to get hurt even more. So you're saying it's a safe space, but
if you say it's a safe space and then I come to you and I'm like, hey, like I feel resentment to you because of this, and you haven't done your inner work and you don't understand what I need as your partner, you're going to do harm to me because you're going to respond in a way that makes me feel low. It's going to make me feel like I need to go back in my shell because you didn't receive what I said right. You took it offensively, whatever. Yep. But if I can explore with you first and create that level of intimacy that says, when I'm upset, like when I'm crying, I just want you to wipe my tears. Like, I don't want you to just leave me by myself. Even if, I did something real stupid. Like, I just want you to...
You know what's crazy though? And it's not that crazy, but it's just an observation is that any amount of success in anything starts with the work on the inside of you. Like, if you want to be successful in anything, like the work starts with you. And I think so many people skip that step.
Because it's the hardest step.
It's the first step.
But looking in that mirror, sometimes you got to have them hard conversations with yourself. And sometimes people avoid that because you got to take accountability for,
That's a whole nother podcast.
We'll see y'all next week. Thank y'all. God bless. We really not.
More tips.
But no. That was good. That was step by step. Yo, closing remarks. Symphony, Melanated Mama, what you got for the people? Dads, moms, whatever, whoever you want to talk to.
I think that exploring your emotions is a good thing. And the more time you spend with your emotions, you learn a little bit more about yourself. And then you can share that with the people you love. And that's how you create boundaries. And
how can people find you?
You can find me on all the social media platforms at Melanated Mama. I'm going to do like M-A-M-A. You're talking crazy like, oh, you want to talk crazy, huh?
Oh, is that? Oh, Josh up back there? Hey, tell him to play with them. Sorry, Philadelphia Eagles. I saw him on the game when you was walking by the screen. I don't know who he playing with or whatever.
I have no idea. But yeah, you can find me on all the social media platforms, and I got some new products out there. So if you need some stuff about how to help your kids navigate their emotions, follow your girl.
Hey, Kev, where you at?
Hey, man, this was great. Like, seriously, conflict is great. Have a conversation about conflict. Understand where you are in the conflict scale. Understand your partner in the conflict scale. And then create the environment for conflict. Like, I just think, we have to we really do need to change the idea of conflict. Conflict is healthy. Disagreeing is healthy. Agreeing is healthy. And just not even having a solid answer is healthy. I think we just really need to get to a place to where we're conversating and we're communicating on a consistent basis and understanding our own emotions first before we try to invite somebody else into our emotions. So y'all, man, do the work. Like, everything is hard, but it starts with
That's good. That's it. That's all. They said everything I need to say. Y'all need to like the podcast, share the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. You know the drill, man. Like we've been doing this. This is episode 60 something 100, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what number it is, but whatever it is, y'all know the drill. This ain't your first time. And if it is your first time, get in line. Go do the things. We love you guys. Take care. God bless. Peace.